Okay, fifth graders, here's some homework help. What are we doing? This is 4.5 or 4-5. This is page 148. So, let's see, what do we got here? Number 17, it says model with math, write a multiplication equation to represent this decimal model. Well, this is kind of the opposite of what we've been doing. So we have to figure out what the equation is from this model that they gave us. So this is, like I said, the opposite of what we've been doing. What I had been doing is giving you guys a problem. Let's say if I had a 0.3 times 0.2. Okay, what would that equal? Well, I could shade the 0.3. So I'll go from left to right like I've been teaching you guys here. And I'm going to shade 3 of these rows. Okay? And then I'll go vertical and shading 2 of them. So there's 1, there's 2. So that's modeling that equation. And the answer is 0.06. That's important you guys remember that. There's 2 decimal places we have to deal with here. If this was 0.3 times 0.2, 3 times 2 you know is 6, but there's 2 decimal places that we have to account for. And so it's going to be 1 and then 2. So the answer is 0.06. And these are the 6 squares that we're talking about right here. Okay? So this one, back over here, is represented by what? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I would say 0.4 times, what do you think? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times 0.7 equals. And I'll let you figure out what that answer would be. All right. Number 18, higher order think and explain why 3.4 and 0.5 have only 1 decimal place in the product. Well, first off, what's the product? In other words, what's the answer? What's 3.4 times 0.5? What's another way of looking at 0.5? What is 0.5 in a fraction? Well, 0.5 is the same thing as 1/2. So what's half of 3.4? Well, let me ask you another question here. If that seems hard, what's half of 34? Well, what's half of 13? I'm sorry, what's half of 13? What's half of 30? Half of 30 is 15. So that's 30. What's left over? 4. What's half of 4? 2. What's 15 plus 2? 17. And does that work? Well, 17 plus 17 does equal 34. So half of 34 is 17. But we're not talking about 34. We're talking about 3.4. So what do you think would be half of 3.4? Half of 3.4 would be 1.7. So it says, why does it only have 1 decimal place? Well, if you were actually to do the problem here, let me show you. If I put 3.4 times 0.5, 5 times 4 is 20, put down the 0, carry the 2, 5 times 3 is 15, plus 2 is 17, okay? And 2 decimal places, so 1, 2, there it is, 1, so the answer is 1.70. It says, why it only has 1 decimal place in the product? Well, you would say, no, Mr. Glacier, it has 2. Well, actually, the 0 really doesn't count. 1.7 is equivalent to 1.70 or 1.7000000. The 0 doesn't count. So it really only does have 1 decimal place, 1.7. How would you explain that? Well, I guess you could say the 0 does not count. Okay. All right, number 19. Number 19 says Jack's bookshelf has 6 shelves. Each shelf can hold 12 books. Well, what's that going to be? That's going to be 12 times 6 equals something. He already has placed 54 books on the shelves. How many more books can the bookshelf hold? Well, whatever the answer is, I'm going to leave it as a question mark. You'll have to figure out what 12 times 6 is. And you're going to subtract 54. And then you will have your answer. Okay? Number 20, number sense. Write a number that has a 6 in the thousands place, a 5 in the hundreds place, and a 0 in the tens place. Okay, well, let's do that. So I'm going to write a number here. And so here, I'm going to put some blocks here to help us. And here's a decimal. There's the tens place. Here's the hundreds place. Here's the thousands place. So what are we supposed to write? That has a 6 in the thousands place. There's my 6 in the thousands place. A 5 in the hundreds place. Here's my 5. And then a 0 in the tens place. Here's my 0. And in the ones place right here, there's nothing. Okay? I guess I could put another 0 there, but anyway, so there we go. Then it says write a number less than your number and a number greater than your number. Well, here's my number. So if I have to write one number that's less, I'm going to put less. What will be one number that's less? Well, anything less than 0.056. Well, how about 0.055? That's 1/1000th less. And then greater, I'll put more because that fits. What would be one number that would be more or greater than 0.056? How about 0.05? What do you think? 7. That would work. Okay. And there's an infinite number of answers you could put for these as long as it's bigger than 0.056 or less than 0.055. But there you go. All right, number 21. If you multiply two decimals less than 1, can you predict whether the product, that's the answer, will be less or greater than either of the factors? Explain. Well, let me write this down for you, and I want you guys to be thinking about this. I was actually talking to a couple students about this at the end of the day today. If you multiply two numbers well, let's see here. If you multiply two numbers less than 1, the product, remember the product is simply the answer, will be less than both factors. That's the two numbers. So anytime we talked about this right at the very end of the day, if I multiply a number, let's say 3 times a number that's less than 1, how about 0.9? Okay. 3 is going to be smaller. If I multiply 3 times a number that's greater than 1, how about 1.2, because that's greater than 1, it's going to be larger. All right? So if you copy that down for 21, I'll be happy with that. Let's look at 22. Judy claims that she can find 0.5 times 2.4 by dividing 2.4 into 2 equal parts. Draw a decimal model to explain your answer. Draw a decimal model. Okay, so, well, let's see here. How could we explain that? Well, 0.5 is half of 2.4. What's half of 2.4? What's half of 24? Well, that's 12. So, is she correct? Well, the answer is yes. Draw a decimal model to explain your answer. So, let me cut this. They didn't give you a place to do that. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to drag it over here, but I'm going to make it a lot smaller. And then I'm actually going to have to do another one. And then, actually I'll have to do a third one. And I'm going to have to make my coloring a little bit smaller here. I think I can do that. Let me see here. Let's do fine. So I'm going to pick a color here. And I'll just go with pink. So 0.5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so half of them are colored. And I still need to make that smaller. Will that make it? It may not work. Let's see here. I don't think that's making it smaller. And then, let's see here. 2.4. So let's pick a color here. I'll go with brown. So 2.4. Oops, looks like I'm going to be using the same color. So here's 2. That's okay, this works. Even if I'm using the same color on my tablet, it works. And then I'm going to have to go over 0.4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then down. I'm going very carefully here. Okay. And so you can see what's happened here. Here's the overlap right in here. Okay. So it says Judy claims that she can find 0.5 times 2.4 by dividing 2.4 into 2 equal parts. Is she correct? Draw a decimal model to explain your answer. Let's see here. So there's 120. There would be 120 squares. Or 1.2, which is half of 2.4. All right. There you go. All right. Some of these questions are a little too complicated, I think. They word them in such a way that makes it harder than it needs to be. All right, last one. It says find two numbers that you can multiply to get a product of 0.54. Write the numbers in the box. Well, so let me ask you this, and I'll let you guys do this one on your own. They're not asking you to shade anything. It says a product of 0.54. Well, what two numbers can you multiply together to get 54? Okay. And there's more than one answer for this. So, what two numbers can you multiply to get 54? You should know your times tables by now. So, let's see here. Well, I'll let you guys figure that out. But it won't be those whole numbers. Just remember. Let's say if it was 49, 0.49. Instead of 54, let's say it was 0.49. Well, what if I ask you what two numbers multiplied together equal 49? It's 7 times 7. But it wouldn't be 7 times 7 because it's not 49, it's 0.49. So it would be 0.7 times 0.7. So what two numbers, and don't forget the decimal, would be a product of 54? What two numbers? So you'll put 1 here, and then times another number here equals 0.54. All right, that's it for your homework help. See you guys tomorrow.